Hello, everyone. My name is Andrea Diaz, and I will be doing my book review on Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. This is the book I chose to read during this class. I'll get started. Um, why did I choose the book? I chose the book because I had no prior knowledge to what caste was. I was vaguely familiar with class systems, but I didn't know that it was called a caste system. And I had an idea of caste system in India, but I really wanted to learn more about this caste system or this invisible caste system within the United States. So that's the reason why I chose this book. Um, what did you think you already knew about the book, the subject, before you read the book, and what new things did I learn? So I vaguely knew about class systems in the United States, but I didn't know exactly what a caste system was. I learned a lot from the book, including exactly what a caste system is, how it is in India, and how it exists in the United States, but it has to do with skin color. It has to do with race. It's not the same as a caste system in India. Um, I learned a few other things, um, such as some of the atrocities that people of color have gone through under Jim Crow. I knew these things, but I mean, I learned in the public school system in Boston. So they kind of teach you a watered down version of these things. And I'm really the type of person that doesn't follow news or any of that because it distresses me emotionally. So this was a really difficult book to read for me. Um, but I learned all the different terrible, torturous things that they've done to uh, Black people in the United States and how they used religion as the reason why these people had to suffer. It was really interesting reading that because I've always believed um, that religion has a lot to do with a lot of the things that we face, and I feel like people want to be blinded by religion, so they kind of use that as a way to justify good and evil. Um, let's see. I think that the author uses a good mixture of evidence um, to support what she speaks about in the book. She uses historical accounts, her own personal accounts between traveling, around the world doing her work. Um, she uses statistical evidence as well, historical documents, um, accounts from people that have experienced have experienced the caste system in the United States as well as in India. Um, and she uses studies as well. There was one particular study that was done during the Jim Crow era in the South, and she does speak about how the I want to call them scientists, uh, the people that were running the study. There were two white people and two Black people that went into the South, and they were doing a study on how life was for these particular groups in that during that time in that town, which I can't remember. If you read the book, um, you can find that in there. But I think that her evidence does support it. I think it's good evidence. I think it's trustworthy. Um, and I think it's very convincing. Not that she has to do much to convince a person like me that has firsthand seen some of the unfair treatment that people of color get in the United States. Sorry, I'm just looking for the next question here. Did I choose the book? So, yes, the next question was, is the evidence convincing? And I did say that it is convincing. So, what does the author celebrate or criticize in the culture? The author does a great job not to place blame on living ancestors of the people who committed the atrocities in the United States, but she does criticize the systems put in place to keep people of color, and particularly Black people, in the lower castes. She speaks on how racism is learned and not necessarily the fault of a particular child, and that with work it can be unlearned. So I like how she starts off the book that by what is how I don't remember exactly how she says it, but she says it's no one's fault in particular now, but that we do need to unlearn it. We need to be more aware that racism is something that was ingrained in us by a system, and that we need to unlearn it. I like that she doesn't go full throttle, like blaming people now, because I know there's a lot of guilt um, around this issue, and racism is something that is learned. I can say that I have heard a lot of racist remarks from family, but I have never accepted any of those things. But I do know some people within my family who unlearned racism um, because of the fact that their children, me and my siblings, so this is my parents, me and my siblings, basically taught them how to unlearn racism. So I know it can be done. It's just, do they want to do it? The next question is, does the author wish to preserve or reform the culture? The author wishes to reform the culture of the United States to remove the invisible caste system. Reform will take generations of unlearning behaviors and change of leadership in the United States, as those in power push to keep the status quo, and many of the subordinates don't believe that the system exists. We probably won't be alive to see this reform in our lifetime. More equal rights for everyone will be gained, and nothing really lost except for the sense of entitlement people of the upper caste have. And I feel like maybe that's going to be a fight. um, how does the culture differ from mine? What was most surprising, intriguing, or hard to understand aspect of the book? And if I've gained a new perspective. The culture in the book isn't too different from mine, but I will say that I do have a little bit more privilege than Black women in the United States as a Latina. While we are also treated like we are second class, Black women are the most oppressed in the United States. The book did affirm my prior views about how the US has a system to keep people in their place, basically keeping the status quo, except now I can say that it's a type of caste system, an invisible caste system based on race. Whether others want to believe it or not, that is how it works in the United States. Um, and this is something that I've observed from a young age, that there is a certain level where people fall. And growing up, I was taught to stay in my lane, stay at my level. So does the author, or can I offer solutions to the issues raised in the book? Who would implement these solutions, and how probable is success? The author does implement solutions. Unfortunately, those solutions will not come to fruition in our lifetime. It will take a lot of work for people to unlearn racism that they were taught. The generations of brainwashing need to be reversed in order for the invisible caste system to come to light and be dismantled. It really is up to future generations and policymakers to stop the caste system. We can help now by educating ourselves and our children on these matters, so that we can start the reversals of these terrible learned oppressive behaviors. Does the author make a call to action to readers, individually, collectively? Is that call realistic, idealistic, achievable? Would readers be able to affect the desired outcome? If not, were you sparked to make change? How will you view the world differently? At the end of the book, the author states, if we truly want to end caste, each of us, every single one of us, needs to search our souls for the ways in which we can in for the ways in which we may be complicit in upholding caste and stereotype and hierarchy, as our society has so cleverly trained us to do, and to consciously work against the programming in our everyday lives if we are ever to overcome it. One reason why we haven't ended caste is that too many people benefit from it, and not enough people see reason enough for it to end. I believe that this is like a call to action from the author. While she isn't telling us to do it directly, she is telling us what needs to be done to end caste. This is for us collectively as a society. I think it's achievable if we were to come together, but that would be idealistic and not realistic because we can't seem to come together. The reality is that racism is so ingrained in some people that it would be difficult for them to unlearn it. I think they would be able to mask it, but not let it go. And this I say from experience. People that are racist sometimes are really good at masking their racism. As for me, I have always been a person that loves culture and the differences and similarities between them. I will continue to be curious and continue to learn all that I can firsthand from people of different backgrounds. I hope that this lets others know that there's hope. As a mother, I teach my children not to be biased. I make sure that my children see humans and not to discriminate on people based on how they look. I have also taught them that differences are a good thing and it allows us all to learn from each other. Are the book's issues controversial? How so? Who is aligned on which side of the issues and where do you fall in that lineup? The issues in the book are definitely controversial because there's going to be people that aren't going to believe that there's a caste system in place in the United States, and a place such as the United States. As one of the leading powers in the world, one would never think that a place like the US would have a caste system in place. Since it isn't spoken of, like in India, where it's very out in the open, people will deny that this exists in the US. The fact that a lot of people think that racism is dead is another reason the idea of a race based caste system in the US would be extremely controversial. People of color and their allies would be aligned with the side saying that there is, in fact, a caste system in the United States. I also fall on the side that says it exists quietly and under the radar because of my experience within it. While I'm not bottom caste, I do fall low um, in this invisible caste system based on me being a Latina and being of a different skin color. Um, can you point to specific passages that struck you personally as interesting, profound, silly, or shallow, incomprehensible, illuminating? Would you recommend this book to others? While the whole book struck me, it was not easy to read. Emotionally, I think I cried through the whole book. One passage that struck me was a quote from the German theologist Martin Niemöller. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right. The passage says, "First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. They came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me." This was on page 398 of the book. This passage really sticks out to me because it's what we do as humans. If it's not directly affecting us, we don't take action. If it's not our issue, it doesn't matter. And I think any issue that affects any human should be everyone's issues because we are all humans. Um, and I think that if we thought of it in that way, we would be able to come together more. a caste system probably wouldn't exist. Racism probably wouldn't exist if we were to see all issues as human issues, whether it's racism, whether it's gay rights, whether it doesn't matter. Every human right should apply to every single human. Um, but us as people of different colors and backgrounds believe that if it doesn't affect my community, it is not my issue. And that is one of the saddest things, one of the saddest parts of being in an individualistic society. It's everyone for themselves, and it's just a sad thing to see. So I think that really struck me at the end when I saw that, because I even tend to kind of sit by when other people are struggling. Though I try to speak up. For me, it's an emotional thing. I have a really hard time emotionally with these things, but I do tend to say sometimes, that's not my problem. That's their problem, or that's this person's problem. And though I'm not going to be putting myself in everybody's issues, if it comes to human rights and just letting people live safe, healthy lives, I think that I can take a little bit more action. So the book did inspire me a little bit to be more involved, to learn more, to be more open and more caring, and just be very aware of what is going on, what systems are coming into play in certain situations, whether that's at work, at home, within my friends, and just be more aware of that. Um, and I definitely recommend this book. I think this is a book everybody and anybody should read. Doesn't matter your background, what color you are. It might make you upset. It might make you sad. It might make you disagree. It might make you agree. But I think it's a book that everybody should read for sure. I definitely recommend it. And that is that. I hope you enjoyed it.